Welcome to At the Fence Line with your hosts, Sara Chambers and Gavin Betker.
Hey, Gavin, how's it going today?
I'm good. You sound full of energy.
We start every episode talking about my caffeine intake, and I think somebody is going to be concerned. Only my mom, probably, if she's listening to this. I've got good energy levels today, good amount of coffee and espresso in me. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
Doing fine.
Good.
Steady as she goes.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the At the Fence Line podcast. Thank you for joining us today. There are lots of exciting things going on. I think I'm not really, as a podcast host, supposed to reveal when the episode is recorded versus when it's released. So I won't be too detailed, but we're at a time right now in the industry, things are shifting. It's a time of change. We're coming out of really high stress. We're kind of going into some more reflective, I'll say strategizing period, things like that. So it's a fun time of year for Gavin and I. Certainly, I think it's a fun time of year for us. It's when we start to get busier and busier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people together what season or roughly what month we're in by that, but that's okay.
Probably. So, so that's kind of where things are at with Gavin and I right now. So this is the time of year when our calendars start to pack up like crazy. We are really excited. I am terrible with dates, but so November 19th, Gavin and I are going to be speaking at Egg Excellence, put on by Farm Management Canada. We are going to be speaking to sort of the next generation of producers. We're going to be talking about, how strategy, finance, management, all of those things come together. We're really, really excited. Gavin and I have 2 segments for that. We're excited for our time.
You're doing the finance one, right?
Obviously. No, I won't be. I'm going to leave that to Gavin. I will let him speak about finance. It's a big opportunity for Gavin. He's never done that before. No, that's sarcasm. So we're going to be speaking at AgX. That's in Winnipeg this year on November 19th. We're really looking forward to that. And as a little preview, our next episode is actually going to be from there, if we can pull it off. So if you've always dreamed of being on a podcast, and you're going to be at EggX, stop by the back swath booth and we'll chat with you.
Have a chat with us. Yeah.
Why not? But for today's episode, Gavin, we're coming off of a couple episodes that were in the realm of finance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about wealth. That was with Terry and Blake, of course, and you had we had a great discussion last time about financial management. So
and
liquidity. Yes. So today's kind of on theme with that, without being directly. We've got a really great guest coming in today that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I want to start off. Really, I want to give you the opportunity to tie it all together for us, to tie what we've been talking about to what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so Gavin, tying it all together for us, the previous episodes where we were talking about liquidity, talking about wealth, and then today, the guest that we have coming on that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Before we get into that, I want you to tie everything together for our listeners. So the question I have for you before we kind of get into the rest of the episode is, what commonly surprises you when you start working with a new farm, when you start working with a client on farm costs and on profitability? What's something that surprises you?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, obviously, managing costs and cost control and trying to keep more money in your pocket or in the bank account ties to profitability. So all else being the same, if you can save on some costs, you will be more profitable. What surprises me is how big the range is in some farms' management and understanding of their costs, and other farms who are a little bit more on the price taking. They don't shop around as much. They don't analyze as much. They work hard. They still are successful, but they might be leaving a little bit on the table. There's a big range. Some are completely on top of it, and some in the middle, and then some who don't really try to look at that as much as maybe they could or they should. So that would be my answer to that, is, without getting into specific examples, just how much of a range is out there in the marketplace. So I think that works pretty good for who we have coming up, Sarah.
I think it's great. And I also think that it's so common to hear producers say, well, we need to lower our costs. There's not always a lot of strategies to actually do. I mean, I shouldn't say there's not a lot. There is strategies to do it, but it's not always easy. And I feel like our guest today has a really cool solution that feels really innovative and like something maybe not that difficult for farms to at the very least check out, at the most implement in their business. So for today we've got Keith Busch from ClearCost Ag. Super exciting. So Gavin and I, obviously, we're not retailers, we're not input suppliers. That's not our area of expertise. We're not experts in that realm. We're bringing in Keith, though, not necessarily for the discussion on that space, but more because the goal of our podcast is always to give farmers actionable advice, things they can really take back to the farm. And when we met Keith previously, we felt really excited about what ClearCost is doing, what they're offering, and the opportunity for the farmer. So, of course, ClearCost is a business, but the person that's benefiting from it the most is the producer. And they've got some really cool innovations in the software that, like I say, I think at minimum, really easy for people to check out. At max, still seems like a reasonable thing to be implementing on your farm in the near future. So yeah,
I think, can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
I think also, I predict, because we've talked to him before, that in our discussion with Keith, that our listeners and ourselves will probably get some insights just into how the market works as well, a little bit. So
yes. So Gavin and I are really excited. So yes, welcome, Keith. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Sarah.
Awesome. We're going to jump in and just kind of start firing off questions at you. We obviously want to learn everything there is to know about ClearCost today. And I think, Gavin, you're going to take it away, hey?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I've got a question to start us off. Keith, you've been in agriculture and ag-related industries for a while now. We're interested, and our audience is probably interested, to know a little bit more about you and your journey, and then kind of how that led to you creating ClearCost.
Okay, it's a good question. So, I mean, the first thing I'll point out is that I've been in agriculture for 4 years. So it's not a lifetime of experience that I bring to this business we've built, but the other things I've done are relevant to it as well. So 4 years ago, when I joined agriculture, it was as the CFO for a large independent ag retailer. And I told the guys there the very first day I arrived, I said, I'm going to ask some really stupid questions, like first principle, basic stuff that I don't know, but give me answers to it and I'll see what we can do. And so when we got into fertilizer, my questions were like, well, how do we know how much demand is in the market as a dealer? Well, we don't really know every year. We're kind of guessing. Well, how does the buyer know what the market price is when they're making a purchase, or over the last 3-4 months, or have some sort of indication of what it might be? They don't really. They call around, get a couple price points, and then they go on it. And I remember saying, like, well, is that because we're an 80-year-old company? We've got old practices? And the CEO is a brilliant guy, and he says to me, oh, no. The whole industry works this way. And I was like, that's an opportunity right there. We ought to be providing good information to people on this expensive decision that they have to make every year. Because at the very least, if you're informed, you're more likely to make a better decision on the purchase. So that's where the whole idea originated. And then in terms of building the business and the software that we've created, I had spent 15 years in East Asia last decade and the one before. And in the final 7-8 years I was there, my businesses in accounting and finance had a bunch of financial technology companies. And so I got exposure to some really forward-thinking businesses that were releasing products into the markets in China and Japan and Southeast Asia. And some of them were really successful and some of them weren't. But I got to see what worked and what didn't and how things fit together. And that exposure combined with this firsthand knowledge of the fertilizer market came together and created ClearCost, which is commodity trading and risk management software for fertilizer.
Amazing.
Okay, great. Thanks. So the problem that you were kind of originally trying to solve was a lack of information for the actual end user, the farmer.
Actually, it's for both parties, because the dealers, that they have to buy upstream and sell, and if they've taken positions that don't match their demand, then they're stuck holding, tons that can end up being a loss on their income statement. So it's really both parties that need to be better informed on how much tonnage needs to move through and in what timeline. So when you start to look at it as a two nodes in the supply chain, what you end up with is supply chain efficiency that you're looking at. And so once we start probing into it and asking, well, how can we get this information between the two parties in a reliable way? And how can they facilitate trades between each other? That's where we started, is building the trading tech, which is for primary contracts for physical delivery. So I contract with you and we've got a forward date for delivery for X amount of tons at this price. It's set. Cash flow has, terms around it as well. But then what happened, and I think this is the important, maybe where you're probing here, is that once you start looking at contracts for physical delivery, you've got to deal with cargo and money too. There's no way to do one without the other two to support it. So we had to build a logistics technology and a financial technology so that the whole package gets released as one experience. But it means that your cargo, money, and your contracts are all in one place, and your access to a very broad market is there as well. So yeah, I could go into that more if you want, but that's the core of what we do.
Yeah. Well, our audience is going to be primarily farmers. So maybe if you could take a second and explain the benefits of using ClearCost as a farmer in, at a high level.
Yeah. So the software does 4 important things in one place, and putting them all in one place is the first value add. So from a farm's perspective, supply and price discovery. I mean, most guys will make a call within a 60-mile radius of their farm and figure out what the price is from the guys they know, but that's a really small percentage of the total market. And ultimately, the product that's got to move to their farm is often moving in a lot of these trade routes and shipping and trucking lanes as well. So we're able to access all of them through this software by bringing sellers on board from all 3 prairie provinces, Ontario, BC. We've got some from the States, overseas manufacturers across the Atlantic and the Pacific. And so we're able to give you access to a really broad market of supply. There's over 25 sellers on here right now, and I've got 5 more in the funnel that we're bringing in this week. So it'll be 30 at total when we launch the full version of the software on Monday. And that's the first obvious value add. Everybody realizes, oh, I'm getting price discovery, right? And it's in the palm of my hand. That is valuable. There's that information I was talking about where you can be better informed on what the market is and whether you're getting a square deal or not. But in order to act on price information, got to be able to contract. So that process has been, sign and scan emails up until now. So we've embedded DocuSign, and it makes for a simple process. Then you got to deal with payments, right? And up to now, that's been a physical check delivered at some point in time. So we've integrated payments for line of credit and bank accounts and credit cards. And I'll pause on payments for a minute because there's a real value add there for farms. We operate a regulated trust account. It's a money service business. And what that means is that we don't record any of the transaction value as revenue for our business. I think we're all well aware of some of the things that have happened over the years with prepayments not being used to deliver the product they were paid for. So we put this structure together where the money sits in the trust account until the contract's fulfilled, at which point the seller receives payment. Now, it's for domestic sellers. If a number of farms have pooled together and purchased a shipload from overseas, there's different payment terms on that because you're dealing with moving a boat out of a foreign harbor, and it won't move until payment's made. But we route through the trust account. We put insurances on everything. There's third-party testing in that case. And then lastly, since you are moving cargo to your bin yard, which is, maybe the last value add we have, we track all the vehicles. So ships, trains, and then when it hits a truck, it's GPS tracked like an Uber car. So you can see it being delivered and you know the exact time it's going to arrive. And sorry about that.
Is that a landline phone?
No, but I use it because it's the only sound I recognize as a phone call. My brain will not hear any of these chimes and things like that. It just rings out and I'm like, well, what the heck was
You're
that?
like, what is
And
a
then my wife's like,
relic
it's your
from the
phone.
past? What is that?
Yeah. I built a futuristic tech company for fertilizer, but I still prefer email to send information, and I have to have a phone that rings like that.
That's so funny.
Sorry about that. I meant to mute it, but it's
No,
off
it's
now.
great.
So anyway, put it all together. The short of it is price discovery, contracting, trustworthy, secure payments, and then tracking of the delivery and order. And then at the end, we've got some, reviewing process as well of the product and the delivery and the seller, so that we can start to build trust, peer generated trust, group trust within the ecosystem. Overall, it was just an attempt to. I've been accused of trying to boil the ocean, and that might be true here, but what we've tried to do is take all of the elements of a fertilizer trade from the farm's perspective, make it simple, access a global market, put it in the palm of your hands, be able to trust it, because we've offered ourselves up for regulation and transparency. And so, that's the business.
I've got one more quick one before I hand it over to Sarah, which will start to take a little bit of a different track on the questions. But would you consider or call yourself a disruptor? Is that what this is? Or you like that word or no? Or
I'm weary of that word in agriculture. I think other industries and other country markets seek out disruption, but what is disruption at the farm level? It's like a break in your operations that could be more risk and more problems to solve. So when I think about what we've done, we've sought out to replicate the way the trade is currently done, but just integrated in one place. So I would say it's more progressive than it is disruptive. It doesn't change the way you're receiving the order. It doesn't change the way you're seeking out pricing. You still have to ask guys for a price, or they can quote it, and you can pull off of that quote. So there's a bid ask option, just like there is in the over-the-counter market. Because I just think disruption carries too much risk in agriculture, and Lord knows there's already enough of it. So we just looked for a way to incrementally progress this market into a way where it was just more efficient, convenient, secure, and transparent.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay, Sarah.
And I mean, I really like that it's about the farmer. That's like the person who at the end of the day is benefiting the most from what you guys are putting out there. Like Gavin mentioned, the majority of our listeners are producers, and we even have, that Backswath has a peer group program. And so the first time we met, Gavin and I both put messages out to our peer group members saying, have you guys ever heard of ClearCost? Is anyone using this? And there actually were a couple people that were using it already and quite happy with it as well. So it generated some good discussion in our just sort of WhatsApp group. But for all of the people listening that don't use ClearCost, that maybe haven't heard of you guys before today, what are some common assumptions that you see a lot of producers making about costs or maybe about efficiencies that don't really hold true in practice?
So I think this actually goes back to one of the reasons we built it, and the way we've designed the software is to have a really specific delivered at place price for every farm in the country. And I think it's that variance in freight that people are maybe not misunderstanding, but not calculating into it. So once we got into that and started going, well, what is the exact delivered price to every single bin yard? We should be able to calculate that in real time and provide transparency on freight. But then that started the wheels turning in our company and going, well, if we're providing transparency on freight, there's other costs in fertilizer as well. We need to break it down for people and provide them a full receipt on what's happened. So when you get a domestic order, there's really, at that point that we get information, there's only two costs in it. There's the free on board or the location price at the origin, and the specific freight cost per ton per kilometer to deliver it. But since we have overseas manufacturers that'll be running through ports and exporting products, or we're importing, then in that case, you end up with a lot more costs that go into it, and they are behind some of the tons you'd buy domestically that are imported, but you wouldn't see it unless you ask for it. So in this case, for an international order, let's say you're pulling a product from overseas, you're going to have your oceanic freight, your FOB price at the port of origin before that. Then you're going to have customs. You're going to have transloading at the port onto rail freight. You're going to have transloading on a truck, and then truck freight. And so all of these costs in our system are working live and dynamically for every single location that product moves through, and we generate the receipt for it. So you get this level of transparency on like what goes into fertilizer. That's a complicated answer for to the question, well, why am I paying this amount? And for us, it's critical just to break it down so guys understand that this is what goes into your tonnage and your cost of it. Again, the best we can do is provide transparency and hope that leads to good decision making.
Cool. You told us a little bit about your background and that maybe you haven't been in the agriculture industry specifically for, decades or years or whatever, but, you do have experience, you do have a background in this in other industries as well. So what do you think kind of the evolution of this has been over your experience and how farmers are able to apply that to their own cost management, their own profitability?
That's a good question. So that feedback comes from phone calls. Like I try to talk to everybody who uses our software. I call them up and ask, how was the experience? How'd you hear about us? What do you like about it? What can we do better? And how's this benefiting your business? The feedback's been really on 2 points here. I think the start and the end, the bookends of the process. So on the delivery, I think unanimously people like the ability to track the vehicles that are delivering fertilizer to their farm. That was such a simple thing for us to do, but when you start to understand what's happening on the farm and you're given a delivery window and you're employing people to receive delivery and now you got 5 hours to wait for it or something, it's just really inefficient at a business when it starts to scale. So your operations, this fits in nicely to the operations is the first feedback we got. And then price discovery has been really appreciated, I think. That's obviously the first thing you notice about us, but there's a lot, we do the contracting and payments in the middle, but that price discovery piece, I mean, I'll tell guys and they'll be like, I only have one option, like where I live. So I'm stuck with whatever my price is. And, there's a bit of a frustration with that. Sometimes there's a perception that that's risky because you don't really have a comparative price to even know if it's a good price you're getting. And so when we provide this, even if that local price of one dealer is your best price, now you know. And I can't do anything on that. If that guy's got the best price, great. But more often than not, we found probably 4 times out of 5, you're able to source a better price through here. At worst, we tend to be at market, and then maybe 5% of the time we're not. And so generally speaking, there actually is a bottom line value to the farms that comes through here, and it comes up as price and fertilizer and efficiency on deliveries. Those are the 2 like quantitative benefits, I guess.
And I think as the industry is sort of like, shifting and evolving, most people recognize that efficiency is the biggest opportunity for savings. That's just every farmer, that's what they're looking for in every opportunity. So it's really great that this has kind of been put out there. You mentioned something earlier that I want to circle back to for a second, if you don't mind. You mentioned something about like if farmers are grouping together and doing bulk. Can you talk? I don't think I've heard you talk about that before. Can you talk about some opportunities to utilize ClearCost in those ways?
So this comes down to timing, really. We're doing this podcast at the right time. Our full version of our software gets released on Monday. We're just going through the last approvals right now to bring it to market. So the way this business evolved, we launched it as like a test or minimum viable product in January. We asked for feedback from everybody who used it. And we took all that feedback and started constructing the final version. The big ask that we got from people is, especially sellers, is, well, this is great, but I got to respond to everybody one at a time. Could you instead give me the opportunity to post a large tonnage and a price at a location and guys can buy off of it? We're like, yeah, we could do that. Why not? Like an offer feature. So we had to spend some time building this, and it's complex on the back end, but a simple experience. So what it means is a seller could put up 5,000 tons out of one of their terminals, and the buyers can just pick off that order until it's gone. Or an overseas manufacturer can post a shipload to a Canadian port. And if all of it gets bought up, then the ship will move and you'll get your tonnage off of that order. And so it means that like 10, 15 farms could collectively buy a barge load out of NOLA or a ship out of the east or west coast, or take a position for one of the sellers who've got 10,000 tons in storage and they want to move it. So there's, it allowed the sellers to provide the market pricing in real time at bulk. And I think, when you're talking about that type of purchasing, they're okay with this model, and the buyers seem to understand that it means you're going to get access to maybe some better pricing as well. So that's how that piece works. That comes out Monday.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm glad that you brought that up. I mean, I part of my role at Backswath is I help run our peer group program. And so when I hear these sort of group opportunities, I think about that. So for any of our peer groups that are listening, I hope that you're also thinking about, the potential opportunity here for your group, especially because it'd be a trusted group. Like, these people, they know each other for years and years. So for them to kind of be looking at those opportunities, I think could be really, really cool. So thanks for giving a little bit more details. My wheels are spinning now. And I always get excited when I can tell my peer group members about, kind of new and cool things that they could do together as a group. So yeah, really cool.
It's a unique development. Like, we've shared this around North America, and we've heard there's nothing else like it in the commodity space. And we've taken some trips over the Pacific and the Atlantic to talk to people, and they've said this doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So we're launching something on Monday that is unique for Western Canada. It does not exist elsewhere in the world at this time, and it's the first time that it's been built. So farms can collectively buy up large orders together. And from the seller's perspective, that's a good deal, because then they're going to move 10 or 15,000 tons in one go. They take their margin on it, re-up on their position, and go again. And so they're not left holding. This is the thing from the seller's perspective, again, being a CFO for a FERT company. The risk that a seller has when he carries the trade is the underlying price of the commodity moving. So if he can get out of that position, take his margin, that's profit that he's taken, and he can get back into the risk on the next round. And so it's when you're actually stuck holding this stuff 6-9 months and the market does this, you have no control over what's happening to your bottom line. And it's just an inefficiency in the market that we wanted to remove. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Like, I try not to get too excited about the business, because obviously it's very young and there's a lot to do, but this particular development has been asked for from both sides, and I'm really eager to give it to them, because I think it's got some potential to really change the way fertilizer gets bought at the farm level.
Super cool.
Thank you.
Just in the past 5-10 minutes there, you've answered the next question. So I've got something real quickly that I'd like to ask you. So there will be a bit of a delay between the recording and then when this gets published. And you keep referring to Monday, but maybe let's just put a date on that so people know when it's going to the.
That's a great question. So when I say Monday, I mean the 17th of November.
Okay.
So the way that software releases work is you got to get Apple's approval before you roll something into the market, and they take 48 to 72 hours to do it. We've submitted it today. It should be done Saturday, the 15th, but I want to make sure that absolutely Monday, the 17th, this will be available to everybody. The app is free. That's another thing that's important here. You can download it from the App Store or the Play Store, depending on what phone you use. It's just under ClearCost, one word. And in order to use it, there's two important things you got to do. So you got to register your business, and you got to pin your delivery location, your bin yard. So put in your business information and put in your quarter section where your bin yard is. We convert it to GPS, and there's a little map so you can confirm it's right. And that allows us to calculate the delivery distance between the origin and the final destination, and to price that delivery in real time, so that when you get a quote for delivered product, doesn't matter where on earth it's come from, you can compare all of those quotes on the exact same terms delivered to your vineyard.
Awesome. I have another one that's not on the list, Sarah. So stick with me for a second. If someone signs up and they register and all that stuff, and they're ready to start making some transactions on the app, and I know this is kind of on the negative side, but what could potentially go sideways, and what things do you have built into the process to kind of negate that or reduce the impact of that potentially?
Yeah. So when we looked at all the risks, talking to buyers and sellers over the last 10 months, that to your question, what could go wrong, what could go sideways, we found there's really three types of problems that could arise: quantity, quality, and timing. So quantity is an easy one to solve. The money transits through a trust account. that we'll manage the payment out of, and we have the weigh bills recorded and shared in the software. If there's a discrepancy between the contract and the final weigh bill, then there's a refund that's sent back to the buyer. That's a simple one to solve. If it's, I don't think you're going to see the opposite where there's more tons. And then quality is an important one too. So a quality dispute, again, we use the trust account domestically. There's two processes then for domestic and international orders. For a domestic order, if there's a quality dispute, remember your payment's not being sent to the seller until you've received and inspected the product. So you have the leverage in that position to negotiate a solution directly with them because they haven't got paid until they do. So we put a little bit more leverage in the buyer's hands in those transactions because your money's not actually in the sellers yet. And then for international orders, it can't quite work the same way because money's got to move for ships to leave the port of origin. So what we've done is we put marine cargo insurance with a cargo rejection clause in place, and the buyers are the beneficiary of that. So if the product arrives at the dry port in, say, Regina, and we receive it because we're the importer of record and we take a look at it and it's clumped up urea, well, we reject it, money gets returned, that's the end of it. If the last one, timing is a little more difficult to work with. So it's, I'm hoping we don't run into too many of these issues. We have to kind of negotiate that out. But if it's early or late in your delivery window, that's where that would arise. Now, early can be warehoused, and it's in the contract that that'll happen at the expense of the seller. We're not often dealing with early deliveries from overseas. It's often, it would happen with where it gets delayed. And in that case, then, we really have to talk directly with the buyer whether they can receive it a week or two late and if it's causing a problem or not. We haven't run into that one yet, but as we get to scale, I think that's maybe the outlier risk that we've got to still solve for.
Thanks. One more question there. If someone's using the app and they run into questions on how to use it, or like, is there a support function? Can they get in contact with someone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's really three ways to contact us. We've got a business line. You can call us, and I'm on the other end of it, so you can talk directly to me about the business. Text us through that same line if you want to. And we've got a contact email for the same thing. Most guys who are using the app, it's kind of 50-50 split between emails and phone calls. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. We respond right away to either one. But yeah, sometimes guys will have questions about like product origin, what factory is it coming from, or product efficacy, what's the difference between this type of ammonium sulfate and that type, or how do I register my business on here? What is the trial that I'm using? How do I contract once I've got a quote I like? So, at any time that there's a question, just call us. I'll pick up the phone, at least at this stage of the business, and walk you through it. It should be pretty intuitive. It's been designed to be easy to use, but again, it is a new process. So there's a change in behavior there, and I'm happy to walk anybody through it.
Excellent. I think I've got one more. Sorry, Sarah, I've been kind of hogging the mic a little bit.
No, it's great.
I know that some of our listeners our primary listeners are producers, but I know that some of our listeners are in the tech space as well, maybe have some ideas for apps of their own. Not on the necessarily what ClearCost does, but the development of the program and how you notice the fit in the marketplace and all that stuff. What's been the biggest challenge in ClearCost's development and the startup?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think when you're building software for agriculture, you have to recognize that you'll never 100% solve for the problem, because agriculture is really dynamic and it has a lot of variables that are outside of the realm of software and engineering. So what we tried to do is let's take as much as we can and standardize it. We can standardize contracting and payments and price discovery and freight. That's all doable. But there'll always be like these exceptional circumstances that you can't code for, because a code is a set of rules essentially. And if something's outside of it, then either you're stuck creating tons of patches and exceptions, or you got to build an operating model around it. So that was how we approached this. Is like, let's solve for like 90% of the problem, and the remaining 10, we're going to have to use financial instruments and operating risk management to do it. Marine cargo insurance is a great example. It's like, well, I can't actually move the money when the product gets delivered at the farm because that ship needs to be paid at the time that it leaves. How do we do that? Well, let's make sure the farms are the beneficiary of the policy that covers all the risk from that port to their farm. And so there's different things you can do around it with financial instruments and banking and insurances that help to de-risk that last 10%. And honestly, I think that's how you fit a software into the agriculture market. You'll never 100% solve it with tech.
I love that answer. I think that kind of advice, that approach applies in so many different areas too, not just app development. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. In business development for agriculture, like understand that there will always be some unknown. And as long as you're prepared to deal with it and take responsibility when it arises, then your business has an opportunity to succeed. At least that's my view on it.
Yeah.
It's really great. We've got one more and then we'll let you go for today, Keith. This has been so good. But looking ahead, what excites you the most about the future for ClearCost, for agriculture in general, for the change in how producers are able to make decisions for their business?
This is going to sound really kind of nerdy, but de-risking it. Like that's what I'm excited about when I think about our business and its influence on the market. And I see other tools out there in the grain space that are kind of similar. And like, can we take the risk or at least reduce the risk in the market that every farm deals with every year? And, this comes back to a really simple reason for this. Like, as I said, I've only been around for 4 years in this industry, and I moved to Saskatchewan to join the industry. And I live in a small town in central Saskatchewan. And the one thing that stands out, and farms always say, don't remind me of this, Keith, I know it, is that, look, a farm carries more risk than other businesses. And from my perspective as an outsider looking in on it, your risk if something goes wrong with your business 2 years in a row is that you could lose not just your business and your income, but your home, your heritage, and your children's inheritance. And so everything's on the line every year. That's an incredible amount of risk to handle with grace and professionalism. But there's 20 to 25,000 people doing it out here well. And so when I think of what we can deliver to the market, it's to reduce the risk of that business going under, which is in another way saying reduce the risk of small communities folding, because you can drive all over the prairies and see main streets that are in abandoned fields with no buildings on them, and you can we all know the stories of the nearby community that's struggling with its finances right now. And so when I look at this, and I've grown to really appreciate it and even love living here in small town Western Canada, I want these communities to thrive. I want the families that run these businesses and make up our communities, my neighbors, the coaches of my son's baseball team and hockey team. I want this community to thrive and do well. These are the businesses that are generating wealth. We're not putting money back in their pockets. We're just reducing the amount that leaves because you're already creating it. And I think, to me, that's what excites me, is that, when you look at this ag tech space, there are genuinely businesses out there that are trying to do that. I've been told we're the first. Someone said the other day, you're the first ag tech I've seen that's trying to put money in a farm's pocket. And I said, I'm actually trying to prevent some of it from leaving. But, and so there are businesses out there with this mindset that we can build a more stable rural Canadian economy with efficient technology tools. And markets, to me, were just what I understand best. So that's why I tried to build in this space.
Super cool. That's such a great answer. And Keith, I think I've shared it with you before that, at Backswath, we meet so many people that from, various industries that are trying to work with, sell to farms. And one of the reasons that Gavin and I really wanted to get you on the podcast was because we just felt like you were in it for the right reasons. Like you're trying to help farmers. Like you say, you're trying to prevent more money from going out of their pockets. And you just saw an opportunity, but it's one that really benefits everybody and predominantly the producer. So, yeah, I really, really love that. So, is there anything else that maybe you feel you'd like to share before we say goodbye, you'd like to share about ClearCost, or something that maybe you didn't get the opportunity to say that you'd like to?
No, I think you had some really great questions for me and helped unpack what our business does. It's live and in the market, and it can be used at any time today. So, I think I'd just love to hear back from people. Maybe that's the only thing I'd add is that like this thing goes as far as the support in the market for it. So if you like what we do, tell us what works. If there's something that we can improve upon, please tell us that. And, it's the thing you got to understand about a software company is that it's in a constant state of evolution. Actually, it's not much different than a farm business. It's constantly evolving and adapting to the forces around it. They're pushing change or asking for, creating an opportunity where change is valuable. It's the same for us. So if we can do things like this big offer feature we spent 6 months on, that was feedback from people saying this would work better if you could give me a chance to post 5,000-10,000 ton increments to the market. Let them buy off me. I'm happy. I got the tons. So same thing. If you want to share feedback with us, just call directly. We'll answer the line. We love to hear from people. And honestly, the best conversations I have in this business, because I deal with a lot of different people, by far the best ones are to deal with farm owners. I just think there's like a direct talk that it aligns with the way I communicate. So we get some really good conversations going. Call us anytime.
Amazing.
Where do farmers go to find your number? Do you have a website?
Yeah. So clearcost.ag. Also on the 17th, the new website gets released. Everything's going full version, but the phone number's on there right now. It's 306-917-8883 or contact at clearcost.ag. I'm on the other end of both of those. So you'll get me.
And we know now how loud your phone rings. So, there's no risk of you missing a call.
Yeah. No, there's very little shit. That's why it's set up that way. Because I got to hear this thing. Honestly, that's how it happened. Is that it was singing was doing like a jingle or something. And I'm just like, what is that sound in the house? And I don't even know it. Like my brain won't. I'm from the 80s. So like rotary dials growing up and my brain's wired that way.
No, that's great. And apologize to whoever's call you didn't pick up on behalf of Gavin and I.
All right. Will do. Well, Sarah and Gavin, thank you so much. I really appreciate the platform and the time to talk about our business. And it's just been a really nice conversation. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah. Before we let you go, I just want to let you know, we do ask for and get feedback from our listeners. And so obviously, if they want to contact you directly, that would be great. But if they send something to us about this episode, we might maybe instead of having you back on, we might just send you an email and then we can share your reply with the listeners. Something like that. I was just thinking about feedback.
I'd appreciate that. Yeah. This is a market technology. So when the market speaks, it's our job to listen.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Keith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of At the Fence Line with Sara Chambers and Gavin Betker. If you have any questions or comments about today's episode or would like to get in touch with us, please find us on Instagram at backswath_MGMT or through our website at www.backswath.com. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of Backswath or its affiliates. Any reference to specific products, services, organizations, or individuals does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Backswath.
To all of our listeners, we've got a really exciting announcement today that I'm not going to speak it. You're just going to hear it. Gavin, take it away.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
They can.
Does that sound better?
I hope so. Otherwise, this is silly. Gavin got a new mic. So we're doing ASMR today from Gavin's mic. He's got one bubble wrap. Ooh.
It's the small kind. It doesn't pop easily. I can crack my knuckles too.
What is ASMR? Is that like supposed to be relaxing to listen to sounds like that? You should do Gavin was really worried about being able to hear his mouth sounds too much. I think that's the next one you should do. Just a little.
No, I'm not doing that. No.
Just a little dry mouth into the.
The reason why I'm not doing that is that hearing other people's mouth noises is something that bothers me. There's a word for it. Hearing people chew and that kind of stuff. That gives me the shivers. Gives me the don't like that. So.
Well, I'm going to, because when we worked in the office, when we were not a fully remote business, you used to come and have lunch with me. So I think that means I must chew with my mouth closed, and it's not that awful.
You're fine. You are fine. It's certain people, certain foods, maybe my own mood that day, more sensitive.
That's funny. I get overwhelmed by too many colors in one space. Like when I'm at the grocery store and there's too many options and colors to the point where I can't read what the product is because the marketing of it is so flashy. I'm like, I think that might be something different though. It's not what you're talking about.
Well, we all have our own unique idiosyncrasies or whatever the word is.
It's a nice way of putting
mine is I'm pretty picky about audio, so
right.
I'm glad that maybe I should have left the mic at a low quality so it would mask any background noises, but here we are.
No, we heard the feedback from the people that Gavin's mic was subpar. We didn't disagree. It just, there's a delay between when you order things from Amazon and when they arrive on your doorstep. So we did the best that we could. But Gavin has a new mic, so hopefully things are clear. We did get our producer, we got a wrist slap because the mics were too far away. So here it is. It's right.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Keep building and refining.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll be pro soon.
We will be. So hopefully people from episode 1 stick around all the way through to when we finally get our microphone situation figured out. But yes, that's our exciting news for the day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Yeah.